Happy birthday, dear Fred.
And Lynn.
Happy birthday to you.
More than a few words to say. I've got, in fact, quite a lot of words to say. But I don't apologise for that. And also, that I'm extremely startled to be saying a few words at all, because I'm flattered, of course. And Lynn said, well, will you say a few words about Fred at his ding dong? I was a bit taken aback, because I didn't really get to know the Chances at all until 2007. And that was when Fred and Carlos and others launched Photo Stroud. And when we first moved to Stroud, I sometimes used to see a very tall, handsome man walking through Stroud with a very chic, petite companion, wife, I didn't know. And about 8 or 9 years ago, Dennis Gould organised the Valentine's Night poetry reading, and I wrote no, I didn't write it for it, but I read a poem there, and afterwards this tall, handsome man came up and said he really liked the poem, and could he have a copy of it? And later on I met him in the street and gave him a copy, but then I didn't meet him again for some years. I just saw them, and they were part of Stroud scene, I suppose. But then, so my friendship with the Chances really is only 3 years long, and it started with Photo Stroud. And the consequences of that was that I met a whole host of people I didn't even know exist. A kind of secret underworld, Masonic brotherhood of camera persons, really, all snapping each other and snapping away. And the consequence was this wonderful Photo Stroud event. But I thought, well, what on earth can I say about all this? And I thought, one thing I should say is that I'm really speaking on behalf of poets tonight, because Fred is a rare man, in my experience, of being genuinely interested in poetry, but not being a poet himself. I have often done poetry readings where the other 7 people in the audience are all poets waiting to have their turn to come and read a poem. And there you are. And nobody gives a stuff about poetry, and it's got no big audience, and it never will have. But I encountered people here who seemed to be genuinely interested, and Fred was really interested in the link that he recognised between poetry and photography, and since then jazz as well, of course. And so the consequence was I had to cut this story short, or I'll go on for several chapters. But I've worked with him, and the other poets have worked with him on several books. Our great friend Adrian Mitchell died the year before last, and Fred produced, out of a hat practically, an extraordinary tribute to Adrian Mitchell called Tell 'Em I'm Gone, which led to a reading here. Poets performed their tributes to Adrian Mitchell. Fred photographed it. It made a book. Later on with Philip Rush, he did a wonderful book called Random Stroud, which was a fusion of poetry and photography again. And then Another Way Home, which Jay Ramsey and Richard Austin, Carlos and Fred did together. And it was an extraordinary book. But as a result of meeting Fred, I then got to know the family a little bit, and I think you've lived here 29 years. Did you say it was 29 years ago? Some time like that. But what has always appealed to me about Life at Stride is a strong sense of community, and it strikes me Chances are right at the heart of this kind of community, as everybody in this room is, and which is a really important thing. A strange thing happened to me today. Somebody sent me an email, part of a campaign to reform Parliament, and they said, write to your candidates, and here's a sample letter. And I thought, oh, what bugger the sample letter, I'll say what I think. And I sent it off and had an outraged letter by reply from David Drew, saying if I thought he was corrupt where had all the money gone, he said. And I said, well, he didn't read my letter. What I said was that Parliament is corrupt. And then I had a reply from some bloke who claims to be the Liberal Democrat and some other bloke who claims to be the Green candidate. And they were all saying, no, if you want to change things, you've got to go with the parliamentary system. And I thought, well, nearly everybody I know, have got to know in Stroud, is getting on and changing things quite outside of all this, because they say, here we are, we're in Stroud, we're a part of the community, we can actually do things and we can get on with them. We don't need this kind of hierarchy and bureaucracy and so on. Things can change, you can do things for yourself. When I read at that reading on Valentine's Day, I read this poem which I'm going to read to you, and it's called A Valentine for New Albion, and it was a sort of riposte to the loathsome New Labour. And I thought New Labour is inventing a nation fit for capitalists. I think Albion, Blake's Albion, should be revived. And when Lynn approached me, she said, would you say a few words? I felt the least qualified person. And an extraordinary thing is I thought, well, it was Lynn's birthday last week. It's Fred's birthday this week. There's been a wedding. The children are wed or not wed. They're grandchildren, they become grandparents. All of this is happening to them at 60. When I was 60, my second child was born. There's a vast prairie of gulf between us in experience. And I think here I am. They're grandparents at 60. I was having, well, at 59, I became a father for the first time. And I've just gone through the worst and most miserable, devastating 15 months of my life, and I must say that the chances and their friends and people I've known have kind of sustained me in a way through a really, really awful, terrible time. And I thought that I would perhaps write something for this occasion tonight. But my, I just hadn't got the bottle for it. I just hadn't got that. I haven't got it. But I am going to read this anyway, because I think it's a poem that has something. I wrote it 15 years ago before I'd even moved to Stroud. I put the word Stroud in it now, which seemed appropriate. But, so I fiddled with it in that way. It's called, and I wanted to read this one because this was the poem that Fred heard. A man I'd never spoken to and came up to me after and said, I really like that poem, could I have a copy of it? So I thought this would be a useful thing. And it's a celebration of love, and it's a celebration of community, and that's what's going on here, I think. And so here we go, A Valentine for New Albion. Dear Albion, New Albion, waking, stirring, rumbling with disorder and republican cunning. I send my love in hope and gratitude, optimistic and afraid, hopeful and dashed by past false starts and hopeless lost causes, which resound in memory and recall your hidden history, never taught in Parliament, college, school. New Albion, be my Valentine, land of promise, land of mine. New Albion, my heart beats faster when I see your best faces, your curves, your valleys, your secret places, yet unbreached by nuclear motorway, pesticide runway, stink of Eurolink, armies of little chefs, ranks of Big Macs and Shell service stations, culverted rivers, overground sewers, chemical waste, toxic waste, newspaper waste, spilled filing cabinets of private deals and private lives made suspect by heart and soul in opposition. Yeah, yeah, yeah. New Albion, be my Valentine, I love thee. Will thou be mine? New Albion, I love your hedges, unclassified roads, Hertfordshire, Hollow Lanes, Epping Forest, High Beach, Chiltern Tor Beach, Dover Beach, Cairngorm Mountains, Larrigrew Pass, all moors and heaths, free at last of bomber and missile. Victorian Pier, Brunel Bridge, Village Ground, Park Pitch, footballers, cricketers, netballers, tennisers, hockeyists, all playing for pleasure. No endorsements, No bungs, no spitting, foul tongues, fair play, fair form, fair face, comely joy, oh boy, I love you all. Sweet issue of Mother Albion, blocking roads, liberating crated calves, and sacrificial lambs, sabbing hunts, squatting, travelling, saying no to nukes, corrupt capital, lying print, bought opinion, sold integrity, royal sycophancy, artful advocacy, bloated law, disgusting fees, practitioners not of justice but law, feeding the rich by robbing the poor. New Albion, I send my love to the sewers of McDonald's sewer shops. Seekers of truth, not filth, going against the might of money, my honey, honey Albion, be my Valentine. New Albion, be mine, oh mine. New Albion's bards, I send a Valentine for you to, no, not the self-important band, but to music in its largest, generous form. Poets of song and soul who touch our starved hearts and shout what we know, that there is more to life than a lottery and royal fashion. Our heart's desire is passion. Land of hope and glory, Albion of the free, how shall we exalt thee, who are born of thee, ah, New Albion? I glory in your horse chestnuts and chestnut horses, cats, dogs, otters, badgers, foxes, oh, boring list! I include all animals, all plants, all fishes, all frogs, moles, voles, newborn foals, Dover souls, who live your land and line its shore. New Albion, New Albion, I write my love, I sing my song. New Albion, I sing of Barnet, Cotswold, Cheltenham, Stroud, Simmons, Yat, Langdale Pike, Brecon Beacon Heights, Low, Somerset Levels, Dorset, Durdledore, St Pancras, St Albans, St David's Head, beautiful bicycles, silent ride, roving boots with its hide soles, tents, rucksacks, primer stoves, OS mats, plotlanders, allotmenteers, communards, all who work for health, not wealth. Burton Albion, Albion Rovers, West Bromwich Albion, Blakean footballers, all rise up and wing your muddy Valentines too, all drenched in love and embrocation. Old history, old longings, old beliefs, not quenched, not blenched, not stenched out of existence by foul leaders, bleeders and squealers who foist their fearful scorn upon us and then reward their enterprise. New Albion, besmirched and scarred but not defeated, revivable by love, by care, by shared concern, by all born of thee or arrived from oversea. In free spirit of Blake and Shelley and Mary Wollstonecraft, Chartist, leveller, digger, lovers of liberty, children of New Albion revived, millennium raptures, monarchy fractures, we are many, they are few. New Albion, I sing for you. Albion, sweetheart, I send you wild flowers forever. You are my love. I am your earthly lover. Thank you. Fred.
Thank you, Jeff. Lovely.
You don't have to say
No, I
that.
don't. That's all right. I would like to say thank you, Jeff. I'd like to say thank you for Lynn because now I'm 60. I've been in Stroud for half of my life, and when I was ill a little while ago, John Marjoram said to me, "If you're going to be ill, you might as well be in Stroud because it's a great place to be ill in because people care." And look, there's still all these people here. It's lovely. Thank you for coming, and I'm very pleased. And thank you for. I've been half of my life in Stroud, and more than half of my life with Lynn, and I'm very grateful for all that. And look at all this lot. It doesn't get any better. Jane's beautiful. The hourglass.
My glasses.